Hello, I'm Nikki.
And I'm Jess.
She's the traumatized.
And she's the abandoned.
And
And welcome to our podcast.
Where we talk about true crime, spooky things, and everything in between. I was waiting for you to like, do it again!
I was like, oh yes?
You paused on the podcast. And I was like,
It's weird because
it's
you're
fine.
delayed and I can't get, do you want to do it again? I think it's fine.
It's
I think it'll be
fine.
fine. I think it'll be fine. It's fine.
I think if you guys should know by now. Sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't. It's fine.
Yo, sometimes we get it. Like sometimes it sounds like we're one person, and then sometimes
we
don't.
question each other and we're not on the same track. But
Nope.
we also haven't talked to each other in 3 days. So
It's been so long.
it's so long.
Today we're gonna be talking about true crime stories. I'm not editing any of that out.
No, don't.
That's gonna be great. Nope. And today we're gonna be talking about some true crime stories, but more specifically, serial killers.
We did
Which I'm
it.
really excited.
We talked
I'm
about
so
it
excited.
and then we did it, you guys.
And then we did it. We said we were gonna do it, and then we did it.
I don't know. I think I've been dreading serial killers like this entire time because some of them have a lot,
Mhm.
but also I think when you like with our podcast, we don't go into all the nitty gritty details. Like we don't like talking about a belt that's made from a female anatomy.
Yeah.
At
That's the
least I
second
don't.
time you mentioned it. But no, I actually thought it was really interesting because I discovered a brand new serial killer. And I don't think I've
Ooh.
heard about yours either. So, not saying that it's great that we found there are more serial killers out there, but
Shockingly, I picked the one from Australia.
I know, everyone,
Shocking.
please pause for the dramatic effect of shock.
Anywho, serial
Serial killers, yeah, let's lighten the mood with some serial killers.
We have to talk
also,
about our
like, when our-
week first.
When our Us are on point, that's how you know we're on the same
That's
page.
just us syncing up. So we're back
Yep.
in sync.
Yeah,
It's
that's literally our
us.
charge up. How was your week?
It was good. I actually did a lot of cleaning this week, trying to stay on top of it. Although dishes is another story. Like we know how I feel about dishes, but I'm trying to do it. But yeah, my living room was clean for about 2 hours and now there's
Yeah.
stuff all over it again. I mean, like I've come to the realization if you're a parent, your house is going to be messy no matter
Yeah.
how many times you clean it. So don't judge people because they don't have the energy to clean up after their kids because they probably
my
already
God,
did
yeah.
for the day.
Already twice has that toy's been picked up twice already, and the third time it's just not happening.
It's just staying there for a week till I find the
That's where
energy
it lives.
again. I like
First of all, you shouldn't be judging anybody for anything.
facts.
You assholes. Don't judge people. You don't know what they're going through.
Yeah, other than that, some people went camping, so I had like nothing to do all weekend. So I literally just played video games and binge watched Netflix movies.
That sounds so much fun.
So
Binge watching Netflix and playing video games. Like, I want to do that. Once all of our busy weekends are over, I'm definitely taking a weekend just doing that. Like,
oh wait, I also watched an HBO show about murder.
Which one?
It was like dramatized. I think I wrote that one down too because
I almost just choked on my gasp. That's a
possible.
thing. I don't know.
Well, the show was called The White House Farm Murders, I think.
Ooh.
It's like about it, I'll probably do a story on it the next time
Good.
true crime rolls around.
We'll be there soon. I can't believe. Oh, also, this is our 20th episode. That's so exciting.
What?
Actually exciting.
Insane. But how was your week?
Speaking of camping, yeah, no, the week was great. It flew by because every night we did something to get ready to go camping. So we went camping this weekend. It was fun. It was cold. It was very cold. I think it got down to like 42 degrees outside.
Dang.
It's like, but we have a queen size air mattress that we blow up, and then we put like a queen size sleeping bag on it, like so we snuggle. It's cute, and we were on a platform tent. It was really nice. We went camping yesterday. Tim and I are both very sore today. So we were like taking down all the things being sore. But it's good. We went camping yesterday. We got back. Oh my God, it was perfect. It was like 60 degrees outside with a campfire going. We roasted hot dogs for dinner. Like did the marshmallows after. We were like really chilled out. I read a book in front of the campfire, like with the birds. It was nature.
Peaceful, yeah.
It was so peaceful. And just not having, because even like while we're here, Tim's playing a video game right now. Like there's usually always something going on in the background. But the craziest thing, we were chilling out by the campfire and heard some rustling. And I was like, oh, it's a person walking to go to the bathroom. And it was not a person. It was something white and small and crawling towards us. I was like, is it a cat? And we looked and we saw a black stripe. It was not a cat. It was a skunk. It scared the shit out of me. I was like, there was all these warning signs about bears. Granted, I probably wouldn't have dealt with a bear any better. But the skunk like drove a fear in me because I'm like, if we get sprayed, what do we do? We're camping. Like, what do we do? Like,
yikes.
This bitch like walked up in our campsite, was like sniffing around our cooler, went underneath like where our tent was. I went under my car and I'm like, oh my God, this thing's gonna spray my car. And, like, we didn't want to scare it to make it spray. Finally, it waddled on to the next campsite. At that point, we went into action. We packed up everything really quick, threw it in the car, and then ran and hid in the tent. And that was we did warn the people that it went under there because it went under their tent area. And we warned them that the skunk had gone under there.
Nice.
And at that point I was like, okay, I'm ready to go home. Like, I'm ready. I've had my nature. Hiking was really good. We went to Bish Bash Fall, which is like a really like pretty waterfall type thing. And it was a hard hike though. It was a hard hike. I was like, oh, it's only 0.75 miles. I can do that. It was high. We hiked a lot. It was hot. It was tall. We had to like hike to like the top of the falls, and I was like, okay, but we did it. And then on the way back down, people were like, how much further, like, are we close? And I got to be like, you can do it, you're almost there. And that felt really good. I was like, don't worry, like, you got this, you're almost there. It's just like 2 more big hills, you got it. So that was kind of cool. Between that and it being so cold, and then the campfire, my asthma flared up this morning. And then we were trying to pack and neither one of us can move. It was, we were ready to go. Came home, took a really hot shower. I feel so much better. Okay. Fun fact of the day. Fun fact of the day. The one episode we sang that almost together, and that was kind of cool. I don't know if we can like do that again.
It's all Keaton.
She missed us.
Aww.
Did you know skunks are also called city kitties in the countryside? My grandma used to call them city kitties.
Why?
I don't know.
Makes
just
no
like
sense.
groundhogs. Groundhogs are called whistle pigs.
I've never heard that.
Anyway, that's not my fun fact.
Anyway.
My fun fact is, did you know visitors are not allowed to scatter loved ones' ashes at Disney World anymore? This was apparently a problem, particularly around the Haunted Mansion attraction.
You're just telling me there's a bunch of people's ashes at the Haunted Mansion attraction?
Yeah.
They were trying to make that shit haunt. Well, obviously, their erosion, whatever, probably like took away. But still,
no, but they're not. They don't allow it anymore.
But they did at one point. So like, there's still contamination of human remains along that entire area.
I feel like that's a thing, though. Like, one wouldn't think you would have to make that a rule. It would just be a common decency of thing of just not doing that.
Just don't.
But because people did it, they had to like make it a rule.
Okay, well, you said that wasn't interesting. That's interesting. That got my blood boiling.
Okay, so who are you doing? I'm so excited.
Well, I'm not gonna announce it. That's not how my story goes.
Oh, where are we both doing plot twists?
No, I'm just setting the scene.
Okay, I'm ready. Set it for me.
So, what I'm going to talk about today mainly takes place in the Belanglo State Forest. And if I pronounce anything wrong, I am so sorry. Like I said, I finished this at 3 a.m. and I didn't look up anything. Sorry. The Belanglo State Forest is a planted forest of mainly pine, but has some native forestry around the edges. The forest is open to the public in the Australian state of New South Wales and is a popular tourist attraction. On top of that, So we've got a big forest. Another important aspect of the story is hitchhiking.
Ooh.
Something I think everyone listening to at least this podcast knows that this is probably not something anyone will want to do in our time frame. But up until the mid 1990s, this was a normal practice. I think it was normal in America. I don't know. I can't speak of any other countries, but it was definitely normal in America.
Which is crazy to me. I can't imagine hitchhiking. I guess knowing what we know now, I couldn't imagine hitchhiking.
Like,
so many people
imagine us growing up. I could literally just ride my bike anywhere in town. I could ride my scooter anywhere in town.
Yeah.
I literally, anytime Keenan steps outside, direct eye contact 24/7. He's not leaving my sight.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is like sad because like I want him to be able to like play like I did, but at the same time, like I'm not risking that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, my parents were very, very strict, which we all know. So I wasn't allowed to leave my neighborhood on like my bike or anything. Even in middle school, I wasn't allowed. Like across the street on middle school, there's a 7-Eleven, and they wouldn't let me go to that. I really didn't get my freedom until I was in high school. But people did, and our town was really, really one of the safer ones. So yeah, I get it, and you're right. I don't think nowadays I wouldn't trust anybody.
It's hard. Sad.
Mm-hmm.
Anywho, in Australia, hitchhiking was viewed as an adventurous and inexpensive, if not completely safe, means of travel. That is until several backpackers disappeared. You might wanna buckle up.
Oh, we're buckling. Oh God, this early? Okay. Up. Just saying, we just went hiking, and I'm like,
19-year-old James Gibson from Victoria, Australia, was described as friendly, free-spirited, and nomadic. He loved art and the environment and often volunteered in the country fire service and anti-logging protests. He wanted to have one more adventure before returning to studies and invited his girlfriend to join him in his travels. Deborah Everest, also 19, was described as vivacious, funny, and bubbly. She was studying psychology and working part-time, but had dreams of being a journalist one day. At the time, she had taken time off to take care of her sickly father, so she had time to join James on his travels. In December 1989, the couple decided to hitchhike north to Sydney to meet some friends to head to a festival. They made it to Sydney fine, but had discovered that their friends had already left. So it was more like, let's meet up and move together, but they probably like found a ride and was like, time to go. Fine. Yeah. But they decided to stay the night at a hotel, checked in with their parents in the morning, telling them everything was fine, and then headed out on the Hume Highway and disappeared. 21-year-old Simone Schmidl, I hope I say that right, was a German backpacker who was known to her friends as Simi. That was really cute. She loved traveling. She left Sydney with a plan to catch a bus to Liverpool and hitchhike along the Hume Highway to Melbourne. She had done this many times with fellow backpacking friends, but this was the first time she had done it alone. It would also be her last.
The whole alone situation to me, like, again, it could have just been like a different time, but
also she was the only one that was alone.
Oh,
people I'm talking about.
Interesting.
So Gaber Nugbar. Sorry, these are German names and I'm not good with German. So if I butcher anything again, sorry. But Gaber was a 20-year-old German traveler. He was described as quiet and shy, but was a confident backpacker. He was studying philosophy after he had spent some time serving in the German military. He was also with his girlfriend, Anja Habscheid. They had already traveled through Europe together. Anja, aged 20, loved the environment and loved traveling. The couple were actually supposed to travel to Indonesia, but due to like bad weather, they had made a last-minute decision to go to Australia instead.
Interesting. Okay.
They arrived in December 1991 and made their way to Bondi Beach for Bondi Beach for Christmas Day. They left planning to head down to Adelaide, then back toward Darwin. Darwin is where they flew into because they actually were not enjoying their time in Australia and wanted to fly out, but they would never make it, disappearing December 26, 1991. Caroline Clark was a 21-year-old British traveler. She was described as well-educated, sporty, and determined. She had applied to join as a police officer, but was advised to go and get some more life experience before joining the force. Another British woman, Joanne Walters, had always dreamed of visiting Australia. She was described as warm and dedicated to her studies. These two British women actually met while they were in Australia separately and became fast friends, and they decided to travel the country together. In February 1992, they left Sydney and hitchhiked their way to Mildura, where they took up some fruit picking work. They then headed to Tasmania and traveled around for a bit. And in April, the two found themselves hitchhiking together on the Hume Highway. And can you guess what happened?
I'm gonna guess they lived happily ever after.
They disappeared.
Oh, dang it.
So this is the part where you should put your second buckle on.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. I didn't know this was a double buckle situation.
Yeah. On September 19th, 1992, two runners discovered a concealed corpse in the Belanglo forest.
Okay.
The following morning, police discovered a second body 30 meters or about 100 feet away from the first. Police quickly confirmed the dental records and that the bodies were of Caroline and Joanne.
Oh, okay.
Joanne had been stabbed 15 times, and Caroline had been shot 10 times.
Jeez.
At the time, after the thorough search of the forest, investigators ruled out the possibility of further discoveries within the Belanglo State Forest. Over a year later, in October 1993, a local man searching for firewood discovered bones in a particularly remote section of the forest. He obviously left, got the police, and returned with them to show where the body was, and they quickly found another one. These bodies were later identified as James and Deborah. So the first couple that disappeared were found second. Gibson was found in the fetal position with 8 stab wounds, and Deborah had been savagely beaten and stabbed.
Okay.
The investigators were actually puzzled by the discovery of these bodies because some of James's possessions had been found in previous years over 100 kilometers or 75 miles to the north. In November of 1993, so a month later, a skeleton was found in a clearing along a fire trail in the forest during a police sweep. It was later identified as Simone, whose body bore at least 8 stab wounds.
Jeez. Okay.
Clothing found at the scene, though, was not hers, but matched that of another missing backpacker, which led to the discovery of the bodies of Anya and Gaber on November 4th, 1993, in shallow graves 50 meters apart, 160 feet apart. Gaber had been shot in the head 6 times, and Anya had been decapitated.
What?
And unfortunately, her head was never found.
Oh, no.
Now, in my description of the victims, I definitely went on the lighter note of things and just telling you how many times they were stabbed or shot.
Oh, delightful. Okay.
So
it's worse. It's worse, is what you're saying.
Yeah. So examination of the remains showed evidence that some of the victims had been tortured and did not die instantly from their injuries. In response to the finds of the bodies, on October 1993, a task force AIR contained 20 detectives and analysts and was set up by the New South Wales Police. On November 5th, 1993, the New South Wales government increased the award in relation to the Belanglo serial killings to $500,000. Public warnings were also given, particularly aimed at international backpackers, to avoid hitchhiking along the Hume Highway. After developing their profile of the killer, the police faced an enormous volume of data from numerous sources. investigators applied link analysis technology to Roads and Traffic Authority vehicle records, gym memberships, gun licensing, and internal police records. As a result, the list of suspects was progressively narrowed to a short list of 230, then to an even shorter list of 32 suspects. There were similar aspects to all the murders. Each of the bodies had been dumped in remote bushland and covered by a pyramid of sticks and ferns. Forensic study determined that each had suffered multiple stab wounds to the torso and many showed signs of sexual assault.
Oh, yikes.
The killer, probably a local with a four-wheel drive vehicle, had evidently restrained and spent considerable time with the victims both during and after the murders, as campsites were discovered close to the location of each body.
Oh my god. Okay. I'm glad we did this after we went camping. Thank you for that.
Okay, so matching 22 caliber bullets, shell casings, and cartridge boxes from 2 weapons also linked the crime scenes. Speculation arose that the crimes were the work of several killers, maybe 2, given that most of the victims had been attacked while as pairs and they each had been killed in different ways and buried separately. And that's kind of like a rumor that will always exist, and I'll probably touch on that a little bit later. On November 13th, 1993, so this case is moving rapidly.
Right.
Like the last of the bodies was found November 4th, and November 13th, police received a call from Paul Onions, who was 24, in the UK, and he explained to the police that they need to find his original police report. The original report was missing, but fortunately a constable, or like a police officer, had recorded details in her notebook and still had it. So this is 1993. We're going to jump backwards a little bit. On January 25th, 1990, Onions had been backpacking in Australia. While hitchhiking from Liverpool to Mildura, he had accepted a ride from a man known as Bill. Less than a kilometer from the Belanglo State Forest, Bill randomly stopped the vehicle and pulled over. Onions stated that he had used the excuse of getting a new tape to listen to, because back then they listened to cassette tapes, in case you are young and listening to us.
You young folks.
But then Onions saw Bill, quotations, did not have a tape in his hand, but a revolver and ropes.
Oh no.
Yeah. At this point, Onions managed to get out of the vehicle and began running, zigzagging down the highway, all while Bill pursued him and was shooting at him.
Oh, nice.
Onions was able to flag down a passing motorist, Joanne Barry, and they sped off to the nearest police station, and they both made statements.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Along with that, the police received a call from a girlfriend of a man who worked with someone named Ivan Milat.
Ah, that name rings a bell.
She stated that she believed Milat should be questioned. It was then confirmed that Milat had not been at work the day of the attack on Onions. The police discovered that Milat sold his cars days after the first bodies were found. Basically, a lot of shit started piling up at the same time. They also found out that he wasn't working at any of the time that people went missing.
Oh.
So, yeah. When they began to connect him to the murders, they called Onions to come to Australia and try to identify Milat from a photo lineup, and he recognized Milat as his attacker.
Oh. Well, there goes that.
So we're gonna pause again, because who is Ivan Milat? I'm about to tell you.
Tell me all about this asshole.
Ivan Milat was the son of a Croatian immigrant and laborer and an Australian who apparently they married when the mom was 16. So interesting start to this little family. Milat was the 5th of their 14 children.
14 children.
14.
5th of the 14.
5th
wow,
of the 14. Okay. There were 10 boys, and many of the 10 boys were well known to local police. The Milat displayed antisocial behavior at a young age, which led to a stint in a residential school at age 13. And I think all residential schools are kind of like not good, but I didn't really research it.
Is it like almost like a boarding house maybe for like maybe?
Also, gonna state it now, but there is one brother out of this entire family who believes Malat did this.
Only one.
Wow. And he said that Malat from a young age was a psychopath. That he just, there was no empathy, nothing within Ivan. So by the age of 17, Malat was in a juvenile detention center for theft. And at age
checks out
19, he was involved in a shop break-in. In 1964, he was sentenced to 18 months for a break-and-enter. And a month after release, he was arrested for driving a stolen car and sentenced to 2 years hard labor.
Jeez. Okay.
In September 1967, age 22, he was sentenced to 3 years for theft. You think it would start stopping, right?
I mean, or just continuously keep getting worse because...
Yeah, because in April 1971, he escalated because Malat was charged with the abduction of 2 18-year-old hitchhikers, one of whom he raped.
There it is. So at that point, with the amount of history this guy has, at that point, you gotta be like, dude, this guy needs to be off the streets,
right? And like, I'm like thinking back because there's some interviews of family of like 2 other brothers who believe he's innocent, and I'm like,
how?
But like, how do you? But like,
how?
From my understanding, this entire family is kind of not okay. But while awaiting trial, he was involved in a string of robberies with some of his brothers.
Okay.
Before faking his suicide and fleeing to New Zealand for a year.
God, stop it. Okay, so the brothers thing is starting to check out for me because if they were also psychopaths, they wouldn't necessarily recognize one. So maybe.
He was rearrested in 1974, but the robbery and kidnap cases against him failed at trial with the help of Malat's family lawyer.
Oh my God. I bet they are reminding me, they are giving such, in Shameless, there's this one family and there's so many of them and they all like, they have like the best lawyer in town because they're all delinquents and like they murder and steal and do all this crazy shit. And I'm like, oh my God, that's them.
Moving on to the arrest.
Okay.
Police had Malat under surveillance as they gathered evidence. Obviously, when he was identified as maybe the killer, they put him under surveillance. Also, acquaintances of Malat told police about Malat's obsession with weapons. So, with Onions identifying Malat, police arrested Malat at his home on May 22nd, 1994. On robbery and weapon charges related to the Onions attack. So basically, they were able to use this to get access to his home.
Okay.
They had over 50 police officers surround the premises, including heavily armed officers from the Tactical Operations Unit, which I'm assuming is like our SWAT team.
Right. Okay.
And they arrested him. The search of Malat's home revealed various weapons, including a .22 caliber Anschutz model 1441-42 rifle.
Okay.
And parts of a .22 caliber Ruger, which I've heard of a Ruger before, rifle that matched the type used in the murders. A Browning pistol, which I don't know what that is.
I think it's just a type of pistol.
Yeah. And a Bowie knife.
Oh, nice. Oh, for stabbing?
Also uncovered was foreign currency, clothing, a tent, sleeping bags, camping equipment, and cameras belonging to several of his victims.
Oh, he kept trophies. What a dumbass. Okay.
Homes belonging to his mother and 5 of his brothers were also searched at the same time by over 300 police, uncovering a total of 24 weapons, 250 kilograms of ammunition, and several more items belonging to the victims. And this is the part that I was like Snapchatting you about, like the brothers interview and the interviewer.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't know if I told you, but he was like, the victim's items were in your shed.
Yep.
Like, that's hearsay. I was like,
that's hearsay?
No, they were in your shed, dude. That's evidence. They were there.
Jesus.
He's like, how did it get there? Like,
Oh
like,
my god.
bruh. So like that's kind of like one of the rumors, theories, you know, like I said earlier, that one of the brothers was involved. Who knows which one, you know, at this point. Besides the one who vehemently was like, no,
right,
he did this, you know.
Yeah.
Lots of evidence. It could be no one else, you know what I mean? And like in one of the interviews with the brother who like vehemently says that Malat did it, the interviewer is like, do you think your brothers helped, or do you think one of your brothers helped? And he's like, well, maybe not, you know, like if you have a gun pointed at two people, like you tie her up or I shoot you, you know what I mean? Like when you have a gun, you have all the power,
right?
It is kind of interesting though, because like I stated earlier, Gaber, he spent time in the German military, so could he have, you know, fought back? I don't know, but
unless he was threatening the person he was with,
his girlfriend. So
yep.
I think
so
I think he could have done it alone. I think he could have done it with someone else. I mean,
I did find it really interesting that you said only one of them was alone. So that to me is like, that would be really hard to do that also alone. So maybe he did. I don't know.
But there's also another theory,
family thing.
There's another theory that he started way before this. Like this is just 7 people that went missing around the same time frame.
Okay.
And so they think he might be involved in more than he is said to have been.
Okay.
But I mean, at this point, I don't think we'll ever know. But also, like, how would you have the confidence to right away kidnap 2 people, you know? Because the first missing couple was a man and a woman. And how would you have that confidence to just take them and know that you'll get away with it, you know? So Malat appeared in court May 23rd, did not enter a plea. On May 31st, he was also charged with the 7 backpacker murders. And then flash forward to March 26, 1996, the trial opened at the New South Wales Supreme Court. His defense argued that in spite of the evidence, there was no non-circumstantial proof that Malat was guilty, and attempted to shift the blame to other members of his family, particularly Richard.
Weird.
Richard is the one that was like, that's hearsay. Like, that one.
Okay.
145 witnesses took the stand, including members of the Malat family, who endeavored to provide alibis. And on June 18th, Malat himself, on July 27th, 1996, after 18 weeks of testimony,
Jesus,
a jury found Malat guilty of the murders.
Let's go. Thank goodness.
He was given a life sentence on each count without the possibility of parole. He was also convicted of the attempted murder, false imprisonment, and robbery of onions, for which he received 6 years jail time each. On his first day, when arriving at Maitland Gaol, which is the jail, I believe, Malat was beaten by another inmate.
I mean, aw.
Don't feel sorry for you, my guy.
Yeah.
Almost a year later, in May 1997, he made an escape attempt alongside a convicted drug dealer and former Sydney councillor, which I think a councillor is like lawyers there, I think is what I've said before. The plan failed, and the councillor hanged himself in his cell, and
wow.
Yeah. And Malat was transferred to a maximum security section. So through the years, Malat tried appealing many times, all of them being denied. In May 2019, Malat was subsequently diagnosed with terminal esophageal cancer. On October 27, 2019, Malat died from esophagus and stomach cancer at 4:07 a.m. He was 74 years old. In his final days, Actually, the New South Wales police said in a statement that their officers visited Malat 8 times in prison and in hospital to attempt to elicit a confession from him, because all this time he had maintained his innocence and his family had maintained his innocence, blah, blah, blah. We all know you did it. Stop it. However, Malat did not confess. And there's actually a video out there that I found of them trying to interview him, like his deathbed interview, and the dude was like so far gone. I doubt he knew his own name. Like at that point, like,
okay, yep, that makes sense.
He was dying, and I doubt he knew what color the sky was.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's the story. I really wanted to focus on at least telling you about the victims before they met their untimely end, because they deserve better.
I think we had talked about that too. It's like why you actually don't like talking about
serial killers, because they get
the attention.
Interesting fact. I don't really have fun facts during these stories. Malat's great nephew, Matthew Malat, and his friend Cohen Klein, and Malat actually wasn't his name. He changed it because he idolized his uncle. Both aged 19 at the time of their sentencing, were sentenced in 2012 to 43 years and 32 years in prison, respectively, for, can you guess what? Murdering. They murdered their friend David Auchterlonie on his 17th birthday with an axe.
Screw you guys. Oh my god.
At the Belanglo State Forest.
I hate people so much.
In
I really do.
November 2010. Matthew struck David with the double-headed axe as Klein audio recorded the attack on a mobile phone.
Oh my god.
And the father of the victim had to listen to it.
Oh no, why? Why did you make him listen?
So, like uncle, like nephew, I don't know. That whole family is fucked.
That's so
like that's
fucked,
what I was saying.
dude.
Like,
oh my god, that's so fucked.
Insane.
That made me not feel great.
Sorry. To end on a bad note.
I'm gonna do the exact same to you in like 2 seconds. So I don't know why we're apologizing. This is what we signed up for. This is what we do. Thanks to that story.
Serial killers are a lot. These are rough cases.
Well, then we go from serial killers to like cults next week, and it's just not gonna get any better.
No, I guess not.
Okay, my turn?
Yep.
So, I am going to be telling you about Kendall Stinky Francois. Stinky, we'll get there.
Okay.
Our story begins in 1997 with a hulking U.S. Army veteran who stood at 6'4" and weighed 250 pounds.
Okay.
Kendall Francois was a pretty normal-looking student monitor who worked at a local middle school, except for the unpleasant aroma that would follow him around.
Ew.
The students had actually started calling him Stinky. But don't feel bad for him yet, because it was only after his arrest on September 2nd, 1998, that they learned his stench wasn't just due to the lack of personal hygiene, but also to the many corpses that he kept inside of his home that were decomposing.
Are you telling me that these kids in middle school are just like being forced to smell what decomposing bodies smell like? That is traumatizing.
It gets better. Now I'm going to tell you to buckle up.
Oh, God. Okay. You got there faster than I did.
This is also a double buckle situation. Okay. Born on July 26th, 1971, Kendall Francois played football at his high school. But when he graduated in 1989, he used his towering stature to enlist in the U.S. Army instead of pursuing sports. In 1990, he graduated from basic training at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and returned home to enroll at the local community college in 1993. Francois declared a liberal arts major and forged ahead.
So is he just in the National Guard then? If he went to basic training and then went to school? That sounds like National Guard.
Yeah. Well, it said Army.
Yeah, the National Guard is like Army.
Okay.
But
then,
it's like it's like part-time army, if that makes sense. National
Yeah,
Guard,
so
you
if he
you
went
go to
to
basic training, and then you basically go to school, and they're called like weekend warriors, where like weekends is when they like do military stuff, but normally
he returned. Oh, he said it was only a 2-year contract.
Oh, okay.
Because he returned home and enrolled at local community college in 1983.
Okay.
So he went to basic in 1990.
Yeah, why didn't I get 2 years? I got stuck with 5 years.
Yikes. Francois declared a liberal arts major and forged ahead with his coursework until 1998. But at that point, he had already been hired as a hall detention monitor at Arlington Middle School. During his time there between 1996 and 1997, some teachers noted his inappropriate jokes with female students. He would also touch their hair, but no one really thought anything twice about it because we're in the 1990s.
Touch people.
No one knew that he had already begun killing women in the area and stashing their bodies in his house. It is
slow down. You went from touching kids' hairs to hiding bodies. I need a second to process.
I told you to buckle up. Did you not listen?
Didn't tell me we were going 120 miles an hour.
There are some hills and curves.
Okay,
too, so.
Okay. I'm here. I'm
a
here.
NASCAR buckle is probably better.
Yeah,
the
definitely.
one that goes like over your shoulder.
Yeah.
So it is believed that he would actually hire prostitutes, and that one of them actually gave him HIV. And that woman's name was Wendy Myers, and that was Kendall's first victim. I literally have buckle up, it goes downhill from here.
Now it's going downhill. Okay.
Because now we're going to get into the victims. Okay. After soliciting her for sex at the local Valley Rest Motel on October 24th, 1996, Francois grabbed Wendy Myers' throat and crushed it, then left her to rot in his attic. Francois murdered his next victim on November 29th of that same year. After picking up 29-year-old sex worker Gina Barone, Francois parked his red 1994 Subaru on the side street on Route 9 and choked her so hard that the bone in her neck broke. He then pushed her body under the front seat so that no one would see it, drove back to his house. Once he got to the house, he left her in his car overnight, but parked in the garage for the extra cover. Then next day, he stuffed her body in a trash bag and stashed it also in the attic. Her body was placed next to Myers.
That was his plan? That he didn't have any other plan besides like stashing them in his own house?
Yeah.
Like, what? Okay.
In March of 1997, so that was October and November of 1996. So in March 1997, a woman named Catherine Marsh was reported missing by her mother. She was last seen November 11th, 1996. 4 months had passed since she was last seen alive. Like the other women, she was white, small built, blue eyes, brown hair. However, unlike the previous woman, she was pregnant. That same month, local police department placed Francois' home at 99 Fulton Avenue under surveillance. And this was due to the fact that the area prostitutes reported that he was notoriously rough during sex. But no one connected the dots. So the surveillance was taken off because they couldn't find anything. A month later, the police department had made a decision to contact the FBI for help with the investigation into the missing women. Because now there's 3 women reported missing.
I mean, good on them, though. Like, most of the time they're like...
Although the FBI investigators were interested, they were limited by the circumstances of the case. In order to establish a profile of suspect, they need a crime scene.
I hate this.
It's like, wait. don't get excited.
Damn it. Okay.
In January 1997, Kathleen Hurley then disappeared. In November 1997, Mary Healy Giosini was then reported missing. So now we're up to 5. What's interesting about Mary, was the report was actually initiated by the police because her mother had died the previous month. So her father, a retired corrections officer, had come to the police asking for help in locating Mary so he could tell his daughter of her mother's death. Police soon discovered that she actually was last seen alive February 1997 on the same streets as some of the others who had disappeared.
Yeah.
So on June 12th, 1998, Sean Jean French, a 51-year-old mother of 3, disappeared. Her daughters reported discovering her car 3 blocks from Francois' house. And still, no one connected the dots. In August 1998, Katina Newmaster disappeared. The circumstances fit with most of the other missing women. She frequented the same streets of downtown where she was last seen and physically resembled the other women who had all been reported missing. Now, finally, things started to unravel at this point for Kendall because authorities had found a clue. Newmaster had worked the same downtown street as one of the prior victims, so this spurred the police to start patrolling the area.
Okay.
On September 1st, 1998, detectives Skip Manane and Bob McCready spent the afternoon handing out flyers relating to Newmaster's disappearance from an unmarked car. Pausing to get gas, a woman named Deborah Lounsdale rushed to their vehicle in a state of panic because a woman had just been assaulted nearby. So they ended up finding the woman, detained her, questioned, brought her in for clarification, and she filed the official complaint against Kendall Francois, who had been a regular customer on her street for years. Do you want to guess what street she worked?
The same one.
That afternoon, the police returned to 99 Fulton Avenue to talk to Francois about this most recent attack. They asked him to come in to the police station and discuss the report. He agreed and was taken to the headquarters. Over the next several hours, Francois eventually made many admissions regarding to the disappearances of the women. He was arrested and charged with a single count of murder in the death of Newmaster. A search warrant was issued, and on September 2nd, 1998, shortly after midnight, a team of detectives, district attorney, EMS crews, crime scene processors, and police searched Francois' home and discovered the many bodies of his victims. They were greatly disturbed by the extreme amount of decay human remains that they discovered. One officer reportedly ruined, this is a quote, more than one pair of boots due to the amount of human sludge. Kendall Francois stashed his victims' bodies all over the house that he shared with his parents. Some in the attic and some in the basement crawl space not far from where his father spent his free time relaxing. So not only did Francois keep his victims in the house, his parents lived with him, and so did his sister.
How did they not know? How did they, like, what they think the smell was? Like, what?
He told them it must be raccoons that had gotten in the attic and died.
And they just lived there?
Mm-hmm. Now, the sister was away at college, so she only visited every once in a while, and the parents just got used to it. But after they had decayed enough, he actually placed their skulls in a plastic kiddie pool that he kept in the attic. So, not so fun fact. Most serial killers do keep trophies, and in some cases, they're human organs, and others, they're dates on a piece of paper. Some keeps wallets and other belongings. In the case of Kendall Francois, he kept the entire body, although the separation of skulls may indicate that he also thought of these as his trophies.
Yeah.
Moving on. 2 days after his arrest.
I want this over with.
Yep, I'm trying. 2 days after his arrest, Francois was indicted for the murder of Katina Newmaster. On September 9th, he appeared in court and pleaded not guilty.
Bro.
A month later, on October 13th, he was charged with 8 counts of first-degree murder, 8 counts of second-degree murder, and an attempted assault.
And let me guess. Not guilty.
Under the state law, first-degree murder, which includes serial murder, gives the district attorney the option of pursuing the death penalty. Though the DA made the decision to ask for that sentence, it may only be imposed by the jury, which had heard the case. Francois' attorney chose to plead guilty on December 23rd, before the DA had decided whether to seek the death penalty, thereby avoiding the trial by jury and therefore the possibility of the death penalty.
Here's the thing. Like, I'm so confused when it comes to serial killers, right? And they take all these lives, right? They kill without mercy, without like anything. But when it comes to their own life,
oh my god,
they'd rather spend eternity in a solitary than go out. Like, cowards. If you took like 7 lives, I don't understand that mentality of like, oh, I can kill a bunch of people, but like, look, listen, we're giving you the death penalty. Oh no, please don't do that. I don't want to die.
The death penalty at all costs.
I don't want to die.
Like the attorneys chose to plead guilty because I think they obviously talked to him. They're like, dude, if you don't plead guilty, because they pled guilty only to avoid going to trial because they knew the jury would want it.
Yeah. For sure.
And so they pled guilty before trial, so the DA didn't have a chance to choose it.
Yeah.
Anyway, on August 11th, 2000, Judge Thomas Dolan formally sentenced Kendall Francois to life in prison without parole. Kendall Francois died of cancer on September 11th, 2014, while incarcerated at Attica Correctional Facility. And this is like, what is crazy to me is unlike Kendall Francois's family members who lived in the same house as the victims' decaying bodies, his neighbors noticed the odd stench, but no one had ever said anything to the police until they arrived for investigation. They're like, oh yeah, we noticed like a weird smell coming from the house. We just kind of didn't think about it.
It's a bystander effect. It's real. It's sad.
The exterior of it is. Well, the exterior of the house was fairly shabby and described as looking like neglected, and it stood out against the well cared for houses that lined the rest of the street. So I think people just kind of assumed that they're poor, so they stink. I don't know. You know, like anyway.
Yeah.
I'm going to end the story by telling you the real nickname of the serial killer. Are you ready?
Sure.
This is where you should put the extra in.
Okay.
He was known as the Poughkeepsie Killer. The middle school that he worked at was Arlington Middle School, where Tim went to school. I had to take out he lived near Vassar College, which I drive by. Like, yeah. Like, I had Route 9. We currently live on Route 9. Like, yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, because I had heard of it. Like, Tim had told me about, like, this guy who killed people and stashed there. I was like, okay, cool. And then I was talking to my boss. I was telling her kind of about the podcast. She was like, you have to do Kendall Francois. I was like, why? She was like, he's a serial killer. I was like, is he? She's like, yeah, he killed like 8 people. I was like, oh shit. Okay, I'll do it. Also, his horrifying crimes are chronicled in the dramatization of a 2000 film called The Poughkeepsie Tapes. So I kind of want to watch those now because that's a thing.
Wow. All right.
Yeah. And like it was the city of Poughkeepsie police, the detectives.
That's insane.
Wow. He went to Arlington High School, which is where Tim went to high school.
Wow.
Oh, so he went into middle school in 1998.
That's insane. You almost had a brush with a serial killer.
Right? And it's very close to home. For everybody who don't know, and I really don't want to triangulate my location too much, but it's very close to home. Yeah. I just the Poughkeepsie Killer.
Meanwhile, so I'm gonna my hometown just had like 5 different meth labs.
You could do like we could do like a drug episode. Anyway, wow. So that's it for this episode. If you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to follow and leave a comment. If you're watching on YouTube, hi. Like and subscribe. Guys, we're at 14 subscribers. This is so exciting.
So exciting.
Do it.
Sorry.
Do it. Subscribe. Make our day. Why are you sorry?
Because I'm just out of it right now.
No, it's fine. That's why I'm carrying this. Hold on. Do you want me to do your part?
No, that's fine.
Okay, you got it. You got it.
You can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at our username at TTATA Podcast. And within all of our bios is our link tree, which has our email. So send us some email topic ideas. What you had for lunch, maybe some recipe ideas. Like, I'm always down for a new recipe.
Oh,
you know,
bet.
Send it
Please
in.
Send us recipe ideas. Oh my god. Or hey guys, I know Thanksgiving. I don't know how much I'm probably wondering, but Christmas. If you have any Christmas podcast ideas, we could start batting those around. Let us know.
Yeah. Let us.
What do you want to see for Christmas? Do you want to see us like dressed up in like elves or like deer? You know, we'll do whatever. First person who emails us about us wins, as long as it's within our range of doing stuff. We'll do it.
Okay. I was just told that I'll be doing it, dressing as an elf, but okay.
We'll dress up as elves. It'll be fine. Thanks for listening. We should swing it. Back to you, Nikki. Thanks for listening. Next week we're covering cults, which is just gonna be so bad. And with that, we're gonna be leaving you with this inspirational quote that was prepared in advance.
What lies behind you and what lies in front of you pales in comparison to what lies inside of you.
Oh,
By
I like that.
Ralph Waldo Emerson.
Oh, that was a good one.
Thank you. Fully
Yeah.
prepared.
Yeah. Sounds like you thought about that all week.
I did.
Anyways, thanks for listening, guys. Tune in next week for our talk about cults. All right, I'm going to say bye on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Bye!
Bye!
You're supposed to say it with me! I did a countdown and everything. You want to try it one more time?
If you want to, yeah.
Okay. All right. 3, 2, 1.
Bye!
Bye!